Thank you for inviting me to speak today about Get In and Get Money. One afternoon in the fall of his senior year, Jonathan, Jono for short, comes home from school in a panic. "Mom, I need help with my college application essays." His mother was surprised and actually a bit angry. In fact, she had been asking him almost every day for the past 6 months, "How are things going with your college applications?" And his answers were, "Fine," and "No." Yet here he was, finally admitting that he needed some help. His mother asked him, "How much writing have you done?" "Nothing." "When is your deadline?" "1 week." That's when I got the phone call, because the subtitle of my book is How to Apply the Principles of Screenwriting to Your College Application Essays to Get Accepted and Earn Merit Scholarships. Jono was your average jock. He played baseball, he had good grades, he did the required minimum number of hours of community service to graduate, maybe he went to a club meeting or two at school. How the heck was he going to distinguish himself from the hundreds and thousands of other students just like him applying to college? Jono was also a middle child. His older brother, Matthew, was already at college on a scholarship playing baseball. His entire life, Jono had lived in the shadow of his older brother, which is why, when it came time to create a school list, Jono picked schools as far away from Matthew as possible. First thing we did with Jono is apply Mark Twain's rule of writing. Apply seat of pants to chair. For the next week, Jono was to come to our office every single day, and he was going to sit there until the assigned tasks were done. The first day, Jono dutifully showed up. Before the students start to write their essays, we actually have them do pre-writing exercises to get their creative juices flowing. Jono did the exercises, he showed me what he had written, and to tell you the truth, he wasn't putting his heart and soul into it. I had him rewrite the exercises, thinking it would improve. It didn't. But the deadlines were approaching, so we decided, okay, let's move on to brainstorming. Jono wanted to write about baseball. That's all he wanted to write about. As much as I pushed him to find a different topic, maybe not one not so universal, he was adamant. Baseball, I want to write about baseball. Well, okay, Jono, here's what we're going to do. In the next 20 minutes, you're going to sit down and you're going to write everything that comes to your head about your experiences with baseball. I call it blah, throwing up on the page. So he did that, and he showed me what he had written. Now, I expected it to be bad. Here's a tip. All first drafts are bad. Just got to get over it. But usually, there's some deep kernel of truth that we can expand upon and dive into in the rewrite process to come up with something really amazing. I have never seen a more insipid, shallow essay than the one Jono presented to me that day. I love baseball because it is fun. This essay was not going to get him accepted anywhere, much less earn him any merit scholarships. Because here's the dirty little secret about college admissions. Those really expensive schools, the $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year schools, those admissions counselors, they know they're expensive. They know that we have a $1.3 trillion student debt crisis. They also know that parents are making financially savvy decisions now with their college dollars. So they use merit aid as a way to attract the students that they want to attend to actually get them to attend. We have 2 days before these deadlines. I finally said to Jono, this isn't good enough. If this is the essay you submit, you are not going to college. Say, can you please tell me what's really going on with baseball? And then he told me the real story. He had actually quit baseball a few years before Now, he didn't say this, but I knew why. Because he was tired of being compared with his brother. And he discovered that he loved it. He couldn't live without it. So he went back. But only now his brother was even better because his brother had been playing and he hadn't. So when they tried out for the same team, because his brother was only a year older, he only tried out for the positions he knew his brother would never play. And he made the team as catcher. Few games into the season, the coach comes to him. Jono, we're making a change. Matthew will be playing catcher. He was replaced by his older brother. To make matters worse, he broke his finger and tore a tendon in his hand. He was at a crossroads. Does he quit again, or does he do something differently? He decided to do something differently. He decided to work harder. He never missed a practice. He threw with his opposite arm. He got his cast off early. He played down a level so he wouldn't have to miss the entire season. And the next season, he was promoted to varsity. He had started every single game, and he was batting just under 500. That is the story he wrote for his personal statements. So far, he's been accepted to his top 3 universities, and he's earned merit scholarships comparable to his older brother. Now, why did that story work? Because he employed 3 important principles of screenwriting that I'm going to talk to you about today. The first thing he did is he had a story that was universal yet specific. Many students are terrified. They feel that they don't have an original story to tell. Well, guess what? There are no original stories in the universe. The story of Romeo and Juliet, the greatest tragedy of all time, is suspiciously similar to the story of Pyramid and Thisbe in Ovid's Metamorphoses, which was written many, many, many years prior. And in fact, in the Renaissance, that same plot bounced around until Shakespeare got a hold of it. And how many times has it been reinterpreted since? In fact, there are only 7 story archetypes that exist. So chances are your story is not going to be original. And that's a good thing, because it taps into what's called the universal consciousness, which is what movies do really, really well. We're hardwired for story. And so when we get a glimpse of one of these universal stories, we go, oh, I know where I am. I know what I'm getting into, and you get excited. But then what he did, and what movies do, is they find some specific details and make this story specific. So they make it specific to an experience, a person, a time and place, a point of view, a philosophy of life. Think of it this way. Every married couple has the story of the proposal. Usually involves somebody asking somebody else with a piece of jewelry. Hopefully. But every couple's story is unique because it's their experience, their details, their time. And so what we've done is we have a universal story that becomes specific based on the details. And that's what Jono did. His story was an underdog story. We know that story. Perhaps we've lived that story. And then with the details, he made it specific to him. So suddenly it becomes a story that we've never seen before. And those are the types of stories that tend to get put in the yes pile. The second thing that he did is that he was a flawed protagonist. Pretty, perfect people are boring. We don't care about them. In fact, sometimes we actively dislike them. I know when I'm struggling in my life, the last thing I want to see is Miss Fabulous walking by with her fabulous life, and, you know, she's not flaunting it in my face, but I feel like it. Which is why when I'm depressed, I stay away from Facebook. I don't know if anybody else does this, but that's what I do. The pretty, perfect people do not make interesting stories. And in fact, you can turn off your audience that way. Many times students feel that they have to write about their accomplishments and how amazing they are in their essays. And that actually goes against them, because the admissions committee, they read story after essay after essay after essay about how amazing you are. Instead, it seems counterintuitive. But what you want to do is you want to create vulnerability by showing your flaws. That gets the reader emotionally invested in your story, and it gets them rooting for you. Jono quit baseball, for heaven's sake. And then when he went back, he only tried out for the positions that he knew his brother wouldn't play. How wimpy is that? And in a delicious twist of irony, he was directly confronted with his flaw, the fear that he would never be as good as his brother, which is what movies do really, really well if you watch them. There's many times it's a single protagonist who has a flaw, and they are confronted with that flaw and they have a decision to make. They either change and overcome that flaw, or they do not. In Jono's case, he overcame the flaw. He worked harder, he became better, and he rightfully earned his place as the varsity catcher, and we were rooting for him along the way. The third thing that he did is he externalized his emotions through action. Let me explain that. Screenwriting differs from any other type of storytelling in the fact that the writer only has what the audience can see and what the audience can hear. Now, some movies try to get around that with voiceover, but that only lasts for so long, and for the purists out there, that is considered sloppy screenwriting. So, what do when you can't share a character's thoughts or inner monologue or anything like that? Well, you have to use action to show the emotions. Let me give you an example. So we have a girl. She's getting ready for the prom. She's curling her hair. She finishes curling it. She takes a look in the mirror, and she doesn't like what she sees. So she puts her hair up. Doesn't like that. Takes it down. Halfway up. Halfway down. And now she's frantic. She's practically in tears because she doesn't know what to do with her darn hair. Is this somebody who's nervous or confident about the evening to come? She's most likely nervous because confident people don't behave that way. So what did Jono do? Well, he never directly said, I'm afraid of competing with my brother, so I'm going to avoid it. No, he didn't say that. He showed us through his action. He didn't try out for any of the positions that his brother was playing. And then when it came time to change and to transform, he didn't say, oh, I worked really, really hard. Instead, what he did is he showed us his actions. He never missed a practice. He threw with his opposite arm. He got his cast off early. He played down a level. These are all actions that allow the reader to get a picture in their head, and so they become emotionally invested with the story. Now, this is really important for college application essays because you have maybe 1 minute, 2 minutes tops that your essay gets evaluated. And so if you don't create immediate emotional pictures and you just have a bunch of vague concepts, your story and your application could get placed in the no pile, even though you could be a fantastic fit for that university. Let me tell you about Aiden. Aiden had poor grades, under a 3.0. Now, he had high test scores. But in the college admissions game, the low grades and high test scores is actually a red flag. It brands the student as lazy. To make matters worse, Aiden was diagnosed with Asperger's midway through his junior year, which explained the grades, but it wasn't going to help at all with college. Aiden's parents were in that dreaded middle class. They made too much to qualify for any need-based grants and scholarships, yet they did not make enough to pay full price for college. Aiden's passion was theater tech and set design. So he looked for schools that he could major in that. The only problem is these were all private, liberal arts, very, very expensive schools. His parents were beside themselves. If he gets in and they have to pay full price, he's not going to be able to go because financially they just can't do it. Aiden wrote his essay about his transformation from shy kid to vocal community leader once he found the theater and became involved in it. He was accepted to his top choice university with a $25,000 a year merit scholarship. He can now attend his dream university, and his parents can comfortably pay for it. Thank you so much for your time today.